Okay. Took the weekend off last week. Ended up down at my brother's place in South Carolina. So anyway, got to getting ready to put the body back on the floor. Was watching Roger, Mr. Fireman, this week. He ran into something where that bottom edge of the floor pan wasn't straight and flat. So I said to myself, "Self, you better go check that out." And when I got back here, sure enough, neither was mine. So on this side, the other side was straight as an arrow. So just did a little jacking, heating, quenching, stretching, got it. Didn't take much to really get it right back to where it was supposed to be. So I'm pretty happy with that. Leveled up the floor the very best I could right now. Pretty happy with that. Gonna get ready to start setting the body down on it. One thing I'm trying to figure out a good way to do, and so far unsuccessfully, I want to come up with a method to pull the floor backwards on the body so that I can line up the rear tubs and everything else just right. So I'm thinking I want to either hook some straps up to the firewall up here, someplace where it's fairly rugged, give it a pull, but it's got to be uniform on both sides. So, and then tie the straps back to the cross bracing in the back of the body. Then I should be able to just pull this right in with the ratchet straps and tuck it right up and get it aligned perfectly. So that's my my next adventure. But I don't know if I'll get to that tonight, or probably wait till tomorrow to start dropping this down and getting it lined up, and get another set of hands up here to help me, because it's a little tricky because it's pretty tight. You start lowering that down over the body, you got a lot of things to watch, and you gotta be over there to lower it. So anyway, it's exciting. One of the first steps is, once I get it down, I'll get the body on there in the front, set the heights from these surfaces here up to the little, there we go, right there, the little air tool wrenches I got hooked on the top fender mounts. That gives me a good flat measurement point. So I got to figure that out too. But so far, so good. I'll bring you back when I have something more significant to show you. Okay, love it when the plan works out. So draw that back. I just put some self-drilling and tapping screws in a couple of hose brackets, and literally just use those to attach my ratchet straps. Worked killer. Come on, get in there. There we go. And yeah. So I was able to take the ratchet straps, just pull it right back in, and it's pretty close. I got to measure my distances down now, but that hole, not so close. This hole looks really, really good. So let me get it leveled up, and I'll throw those top fender bolts in to hold the firewall in place, then start working the rear. The rear's got to come up a hair, I believe. I don't know to what extent, but the brackets back here appear to be a little ways off, but I think I'm still low in the rear of the rocker too. So yeah, first step was just getting it in, getting the firewall where it's supposed to be, and I'll start working back from there. But it's exciting. It's starting to look like something. Of course, I left a little extra something right here because I didn't quite know where my rocker would end up. I still don't. Once I get it clamped in and everything's happy, I'll bend this back, trim it, cut it down flash so that the front of the mini tubs come flush with this whole plane through here. So yeah, looking good. It's exciting. So I'm going to just putter around on a little bit more, just keep checking alignments, check everything. I got my friend Bobby's coming next week to help me weld it, and calling in my ringer. But yeah, should do it. Got to keep checking levels, make sure nothing's getting racked, because you know, once you're setting that down, your floor is still level, but your body now, you got to kind of work that. So, you know, and yeah, good times. Good times. So I'll keep tweaking and getting it squared up. Okay, so we got the body set back down on the floor. I measured from this surface, the bottom of the firewall mount, to the bottom of my air tool wrench here. And 18 7/8 is the number. That's what you try to do. Got everything, got the, you know, started here at the front, the center firewall centered up at the right level. I did have to trim this flange just a hair right here to get it to, you know, come down onto that. And then offset those holes a little bit with the deburr tool. Then threw some screws in it, made it work. Looks good. Fits up, doing its thing. Then I kind of worked my way back, clamping the floor. Now I don't know that I'm actually perfectly level this way yet. I've got to work that out next before I go too much further. But clamp the floor off to the rocker, just based on, you know, the front's right. I don't know about the back yet. Everything seems to be level, so I'm feeling like the back's okay. I've got to do some more study on that. On Amazing Shoot Metal on Juby's channel, he talked about, if you need to, you can lift the rear of the frame up, you know, 1/2 inch tops. Don't go any more than that. But you can lift it a little. And he puts slots. I don't know if I can see that. Hang on. There we go. Light on the subject. He put slots in this bracket to pick that up, and I did that too. But then I realized, all you have to do is mark where you were here and lift this whole show up the 1/2 inch. So I did that, and the reason I did it now instead of when I was mounting up the quarter panels is these points weren't making contact. So this brace is supposed to be securely on that floor. I lifted it up, oddly enough, it's exactly 1/2 inch when it made contact. So I dropped a screw in it here and just left it. Threw the laser back on, made sure everything back here is still centered up on the floor and the body. Everything is perfect. I was more concerned about these points right here still being centered. You know, obviously that's gonna severely hurt you when you put your rear panel on if that's not right. And they're right on the money, less than a 1/16 difference. So, feeling fine about that. I am gonna go back, I checked the floor for level here. I gotta go back and check the body for level now. Make sure that's still good. If the body's level and the floor is level, you know, my rockers have kind of got to be where they are. That's the end of the story. That's the best I can do. Everything else looks good. I'm going to take a few more measurements just to make sure I've got proper spacing from like here up to here, just to make sure that everything is, you know, proper. Might test fit my my rear panel again. Again, that's an OER panel. Most of the external, all the external panels I bought were OER. A lot of the internal stuff I bought was AMD. And there was various reasons for that, except for the firewall, which was OER, because that was the only way I could get a heater delete one. Anyway, gonna throw the level back here now. Make sure my chassis is still level, my body's still level. I can see I got a level up there, and I can see already that one's still right on, so, which it should be, you know, because that's all based on the rocker and everything else. Yeah, get that going, keep clamping, working my way back here, and get that all, I might drop some screws, through the floor to rocker panel interface just so that cannot move. Then get the lift out of there. Then we'll be ready to start welding the floor to the body. Pretty exciting. Yeah, I'll start with that again, hit that up, come back, and then start working on the inner wheel tubs, the mini tubs. They're all up there on the shelf. Hit those mini wheel tubs in there, start getting those fitted up properly. Wow, and like I said, I drew some new lines in here. I gotta, cut this, bend this over flat, redo this bend so it's on that line, so it's even with this surface. I know I gotta do that, but I left them long on purpose. I left them long not knowing exactly where the rocker was gonna be. Now it's being where it's gonna be. There's no doubt about it. So, you kind of go through this stuff and I'm being super cautious about all my measurements and alignments and all of that stuff. But the more you work with these panels and the way they were designed initially from GM, it amazes me how much forethought they had. I mean, the way this thing goes together, there's very few parts that are super high tolerance, even high tolerance. One wouldn't even call it super. They've got this so that it can go together really fast, not super tolerant, but still work just fine. In a lot of areas, that's the way it is. Now, of course, the aftermarket panels are a little looser. Hey, just like Roger says, just happy to have them. I'll make it work. If I didn't have them, I'd be screwed. This car would be, in a crusher by now, being crushed into a big block and made into Toyotas. So, yeah, I gotta believe this is going pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with it so far. That's where I'm at. I'm gonna check a few more levels, a few more measurements before I drop any screws. But you can see down through here, my rocker to body interface looks about right. It does tilt up a little bit towards the rear. I don't think that's a problem at all. It curls up in the back. You can see that it's kind of made to, but I don't think that's a big deal. But anyway, if anybody thinks it is, please shout out before I get too far and hate myself. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I suppose I could lower the back mounts a little bit to get that floor pan even in through there. But like I said, right now my rockers are level, my body's level, my floor is in there based on the points that I took off my original chassis and the GM points and the points I got from Scott's Hot Rod, all documented. Only thing I've done so far to get away from that is roll this up about a half an inch. Now, interestingly, my measurements had that a little higher than the GM and Scott's Hot Rod's measurements. My original car had that up just a hair higher, which is probably why this needed to come up. It all ties together in a system. So we'll see if the rockers are, not rockers, if the quarter panels are touching the top of the door and space at the bottom, then I'll roll this down. I'll figure out how to get that to roll down. There's a lot to it up there with these convertibles, so I don't expect that would be an easy endeavor, but we'll see. Looking forward to doing it. So we'll get there. All right, I'll bring you back when I have more. So I have pushed, pulled, prodded, done everything I can. This thing is, trying to make sure the floor is level. One thing I did learn is the flanges on the bottom don't necessarily equal the top. So in other words, the flanges on both sides on the bottom of the floor returns where they meet up with the rocker panels are different. So I've got the floor pretty leveled as measured from the top, everything looks pretty good, but on the bottom, I'm about a 1/4 inch difference, left to right. So yeah, is what it is. It's just a return. I can always trim it up if it hangs down, so it won't be much of a problem. I redid my returns down through here, got all this ready for the mini tubs. That's coming up next. Start to fit in the back ones, make sure they fit right, work my way out, see what we get. But yeah, it's right now it's actually on the chassis. I have it all clamped off. I'm gonna run out and grab a porta power, and just to pull the 2 points, stretch the points out underneath the 2 flanges of the floor as they meet the rocker panels. They're a little shy. They're not quite up as tight as I'd like to see them. Yeah, there you go. So I think if I put a porta power with a couple of L feet on it that I can put up there against the very bottom of the floor and then spread it, that will spread the tunnel a little bit and get me where I want to be. So I'll do that before I screw the rockers to the floor pan. But I'll get all that sorted out before I do that. And then, yeah, that should about do it for that phase. Then we'll start welding in the floor, getting that in there permanent, see what we get. Okay, on to the mini tubs.